Hey there, everyone. This is Samuel Johnson, and welcome back to the Phantom Perspectives. And today we're going to be discussing episode 34 of Danny Phantom, King Tuck. And, as the name kind of implies, this involves mummies. In this case, the story of the episode is that Tucker is running for student council president, and, Tucker, being one of the three general losers of Amity of Casper High, is not really doing well. Made even worse by the fact that Danny and Sam aren't exactly listening to him, though to be fair, his campaign slogans are about how the triumph of technology over man, which, yeah, even that is really creepy and really should not be a thing, period. On top of that, his opponent is Dash, who, while kind of having a similar lukewarm response, managed to get more positive attention because he threatens to beat people up if they don't listen to him, so, yeah. That doesn't exactly go over well either. But and the end result is that Dash is kind of more popular in the polls. However, things start kind of change when the Casper High students take a field trip to a museum, and in the museum there's a new exhibit for an old pharaoh called Dullaman Ra. Dullaman, I think. Hold on a second. Sorry about that. But yeah, I just looked it up. Sorry, but it's Dullaman. It turns out, and coincidence with coincidences, Dullaman looked exactly like Tucker, which is surprising for everybody. Sorry, hair on my hair on my tablet. So, anyway, it turns out that one of the ancient artifacts, so to speak, of this two of them anyway, is a rod that Dullaman wielded as pharaoh, and the other is a coffin that supposedly contains a minion of his, someone by the name of Hotep Ra, which legend says that he will only awaken if the pharaoh looks into a mirror on his coffin. Of course, one of the jocks, Quan, says that maybe Tucker should look into it as a joke, saying if it's true he'll get a minion. If it doesn't, he'll probably just see a zit. And Tucker, being Tucker, decides to take him up on that offer just to make sure if he does have a zit. And yeah, true to form, Hotep Ra wakes up and he's a ghost, and rather than being a mummy, he's a ghost mummy, complete with the see-through and powers and everything. As such, Danny, of course, tries to fight him, but while he does manage to knock him aside, Hotep Ra actually sees Tucker and suddenly swears fealty to him. Okay, hold on a second, dog. Sorry about that. Anyway, as I was saying, Hotep Ra swears fealty to Tucker, but of course, like I said, Danny knocked him aside after that, and he says it's probably best if you don't work for him, that you don't accept him. But it turns out that Tucker did. As later on, as Danny, Sam, and Tucker are walking along, Tucker sees the new posters that Danny and Sam put up that say you can't spell Tucker Foley without F, and it's supposed to try to appeal to the idiot demographic and slash the jocks. Which, yeah, the campaign slogan is dumb anyway, so they take it down. But while they're doing that, Hotep Ra appears with Tucker's backpack in tow, and it turns out that Tucker has been keeping him around as he tells him to grape him. Apparently they talked about everything, and Hotep Ra even brings Tucker to school while Danny and Sam are distracted. Though I think at least Danny's ghost sense would go off since the guy's right there, but whatever. So Tucker tries, as such, when Tucker goes to school, he gets angry that Dash is covering up all of his campaign posters with his own. So he gets Hotep Ra to make them run away by turning into a flock of locusts. But Hotep Ra says that he can help him, take control of this place. Although Tucker kind of briefly considers it, I don't think he fully goes for it. But it turns out Hotep Ra has his own designs, as he actually managed to grab the scepter from the museum and plans to do something with it. Though I'll get into my feelings on that later. But in the meantime, he meets up with Tucker in school and gives him the staff. And the instant Tucker holds the staff, he suddenly changes. Like, it's still predominantly Tucker, but his entire demeanor it completely changes. Speaks more regally with a slight bit of olden English. He gets a lot more angry. He utilizes he commands more. He starts threatening more people, and when Danny and Sam appear and they see him with the staff, he actually tells them to pretty much piss off while he goes to a debate. As such, when he goes to the debate, he steps up to do opening statements, but no one's listening to him, just doing their own thing. And so Tucker, just mad, uses the staff to smash in his podium and pretty much command all their attention, gaining more, pretty much cementing that something's up with him when Hotep Ra appears by his side. Danny then goes to try and get the staff away from Tucker because he realizes whatever it's doing is influencing him. But Tucker does not want to give it up, and he utilizes its power to send Danny to what looks like an arena, like a gladiatorial arena, like chariot races and so forth, and chariot battles and so forth. In the meantime, he decides that you're all going to listen to me now. I'm in charge here. I'm the king. And so he uses the staff to pretty much send the entire student body and Lancer to this same realm. Whether this realm is in the ghost zone or if he just altered the world, I don't know. But pretty much now everyone's in Egyptian slave garb. Sam kind of looks like a female priestess, while Tucker is now completely decked out in pharaoh regalia, and tells them, I'm in charge here. You're all going to listen to me, and no one shall challenge me. As such, he and Hotep Ra put everyone to work building up a sphinx, or at least adding on to it, I think. I guess it wasn't finished yet. In the meantime, Danny manages to fight through the gladiatorial arena, and he does manage to come out on top, though we don't learn that till later. And pretty much, in the meantime, Tucker... This also shows that we continue to see that what the staff is... How Tucker's demeanor is changed. Like, what stays the same, as he starts instituting all these kind of stupid laws, like everyone has to wear red beret. There's going to be a miniskirt Friday, which Danny kind of suggested for Tucker's campaign, and Tucker actually liked. But of course, the instant Tucker is out of the room, Hotep and the guy that was scribing all those laws is there. It turns out that Hotep Ra is apparently just using Tucker. He wants it as the instant the Sphinx is complete, he's going to try and get the staff back and take control. Though he already had the staff. I'll get into that later. So, bottom line, they do manage it. The Sphinx is almost complete. Tucker, Hotep Ra, and Hotep Ra end up overseeing it. But at that point, Danny comes in dressed in the armor of his opponent, and he manages to get... And of course, them thinking, oh, you vanquished the ghost child. How'd you do it? Sorry, breakfast. Still coming. Danny used the opportunity to manage to finally get the scepter out of Tucker's hands, which in turn turns him back to normal. And of course, he's clueless about what the heck's going on. But as Hotep Ra tries fighting Danny to get the staff, the battle ultimately causes Lancer, who is pushing the final block for the Sphinx into place, to knock it into place. And the instant it's locked in, it comes to life, or I think Hotep Ra uses the staff to bring it to life because he managed to get away from Danny at some point during the fight. But bottom line, it turns out that Danny tries fighting the Sphinx off as best as he can, but unfortunately this thing is almost invincible. There's nothing he throws against it's working, and even the ghostly whale doesn't even scratch it. As such, Danny is kind of in a losing battle, made even worse when he has to contend with several... Hold on a second, this is going to be the last time, I promise. Again, sorry about that. That should be the last interruption. So, I left off with Danny fighting the hieroglyphs, which he managed to defeat, but like I said, the Sphinx is too powerful. Danny can't even scratch it, and with the staff in his hand, and with the scepter in his hand, Hotep Ra completely controls it. Well, Danny thinks that maybe Danny thinks of another idea, since Tucker is still technically Pharaoh right now. He thinks that maybe the Sphinx will listen to him. Tucker doesn't know if he's willing to do this, but Danny says that you're the only person that can do it, and of course you're the only person it might listen to. And of course Tucker talks about, well, maybe it'll be the first, and of course Danny says, I'm sorry about that. I'll get into the moral later, but of course, so Tucker decides to try it out, and it turns out it works. As every command that Tucker gives the Sphinx, it listens and obeys. Tells it to stop, tells it to stop, it stops. He tells it to roll over, it rolls over, acts like a big dog. And so Hotep Ra, of course, confused, Hotep Ra holds the staff in the air and says, I control it, and Danny takes the opportunity to take it out of his hands and knock him aside, and so Tucker orders the Sphinx to pretty much sick Hotep Ra. At which point, Tucker takes a staff back from Danny and decides that he's going to use its power to undo everything. And so that's exactly what he does. He uses the staff to turn everything back to normal and make sure that the only people that remember this entire event are himself, Sam, and Danny. As such, they're transported back to the debate, and of course, nobody remembers anything, save for faint subconscious memories. But otherwise, Tucker decides that he's not cut out to be ruler, so he concedes the election to Dash, who immediately calls for a nerd whaling Friday instead of a miniskirt Friday. But Tucker decides that and so Danny says that he's going to try and get the scepter back to the museum, and that they should have listened to Tucker more. Though Tucker also quickly undermines it by saying, "Yeah, I'm a good listener. I'm handsome, smart, and of course there's my campaign about technology over man. Blah blah blah." And of course, Danny and Sam just leave while Tucker rants, and then he ultimately says it's like they're handmade in Japan, and this winds up getting Paulina and Star to immediately react as they were his personal handmaidens in the other world, washing his gross feet. And of course, the instant they hear that, it causes a subconscious memory to relapse, and now they want to kill him, and that's how the episode ends. So, I think I might have seen this episode when I was younger, but I don't remember much about it. I think I have some faint memories, but otherwise, I was kind of blind for this one. So overall, if I had seen it before, I kind of understand why I don't remember much about it, because this episode wasn't that great, if you ask me. For starters, the moral center, it doesn't feel as strong. It's just, like, here's what I'm talking about. Like, the idea is that Tucker wanted to be listened to and respected more, and I understand that. And of course, Danny and Sam were wrong to just completely ignore everything he wanted to do, and just go their own way and make him look like an idiot. Which, okay, yeah, it is understandable. Maybe they did need to apologize for that, but it also kind of ignores Tucker's own faults in that regard as well. Because here's the thing: regardless of what we feel about Tucker, he is a loser, like a grade A loser. He's terrible at school, relies too much on technology. And his campaign slogan was that it was technology over humans, thinking that the technology was was far superior and all that. And on top of that, he's just a loser. He thinks he's cool. He thinks he's suave and handsome when he's anything but. And unfortunately, he didn't try anything to try and fix that, thinking he was under the impression that being student body president or whatever would be enough to get him popularity, but the problem was he didn't have that much popularity to begin with, and as such, it kind of made it easier for Dash to secure a victory, even though he was threatening everybody. As such, it wasn't really just as such, it kind of felt like there should have been, I think the real lesson could have been to try and have a compromise, like Sam and Danny, sorry, I actually did get that right, should have listened more to Tucker, but at the same time, Tucker probably should have taken more of their advice. like he should have at least conceded that maybe not all of his points were that good, and maybe Sam and Danny should have conceded that maybe they should have listened to him more, that they probably shouldn't have gone off half-cock and everything. I feel like the real lesson should have been that both sides need to learn to kind of have a compromise in that. Like Tucker, like Sam and Danny should learn to listen more to Tucker, but at the same time, Tucker should learn to that maybe he should concede in a few areas. Not every area, mind you, but at least in some areas to make himself look good. But unfortunately, the lesson seems to be just give him some respect or something, or you should have listened to him. And again, Sam and Danny were kind of in the wrong, but Tucker isn't completely blameless either. And unfortunately, the episode tries to make it seem like he's the victim here when he's just tries to make it seem like he's the unhappy victim, when really I think he kind of needed a bit of a reality check too. Which, yeah, it just kind of, yeah, that's just kind of what I think is dumb. On top of that, let's talk about Hotep Ra. Hotep Ra kind of feels intimidating for a villain, but unfortunately he doesn't get all the way there for me. Like, he's a mummy when he kind of has the I'm grand and I'm grandiose, blah blah, and he's kind of got that that Jafar Grand Advisor, so to speak, type of deal where he's playing to overthrow his master. But I kind of have to say this from his first scene where after he and Tucker are done conversing, he makes it clear that he's planning to betray Tucker. His plan was pretty much just, as I said before, finish the Sphinx, take control of it, use it to pretty much take over. But here's my question, a big question too. Did he need Tucker for this? Like, did he really need Tucker for this? Because I don't think he needed Tucker for it. The staff seems to be a very powerful artifact, just capable of rewriting reality as we know it, to bring a Sphinx to life, make it invincible, to bring hieroglyphs to life in order to attack your enemies. This thing is, and on top of that, somehow it corrupts Tucker. We don't, even though it only seems to happen the one time when Tucker has it, but otherwise, yeah, that's kind of inconsistent too. But otherwise, he didn't really need Tucker. He said all he needed was the Sphinx and the staff, and maybe the idea is that only the living can warp reality with the staff, but we don't seem to get that with this. It's just sort of staff can control all reality. Staff, here, have the staff, rewrite reality, have your way, yada yada yada. I mean, okay, yeah, have a fall guy, but he didn't even need Tucker. Tucker was the one that woke him up, yeah, but all he needed was the staff, and then he could have done whatever he wanted. Scepter, yes. I keep alternating between scepter and staff. I don't like that, sorry. But all he really needed was the scepter. But he, for some reason, decided to include Tucker for some reason. I don't know. Even he knows that Tucker's not the real Pharaoh. He's just using it. He's just having him be the figurehead, I suppose. I guess he kind of needed a figurehead. I don't know. No, I don't think so. No, he did not need a figurehead. Even the other servants should know that Tucker is not worthy to be Pharaoh, and that once Hotep Ra gets his way, Tucker's going to be given Das Boot. But I don't know. I feel like his plan is just kind of dumb. Like, structurally not that dumb. Actually, scratch that. The scepter can rewrite reality. It can teleport all these people to a plane of existence that looks like Egypt, or make the world like Egypt. He has immense powers with this staff. He doesn't even need the stinking Sphinx. I just realized that. He didn't need the Sphinx. He just needed the scepter. The scepter gave whoever wielded it ultimate power. Well, then why didn't he use the scepter for ultimate power? What the heck is up with this guy? It's just a flawed plan too, and it just didn't really make a lot of sense. And again, and on top of that, there wasn't a lot of good jokes. It was just mostly about how Tucker wanted to be listened to more, even though his ideas were kind of dumb, and how Sam and Danny were doing whatever they wanted, even though they probably should have listened to a degree. But I feel like that this episode doesn't really know what its center is. The villain isn't that great, if you ask me. His plan's just kind of dumb. And the moral lesson isn't that great. It's just kind of feels one-sided, and not even then only does half the job, and the other half it's just whatever. It's just, on top of that, I don't think it's not really that funny for that. It's not really that funny either, though. I actually do admit I kind of like the miniskirt Friday joke, just because it kind of fits with Tucker so well. Like, even when he was empowered, corrupted by the staff, he still wants to have miniskirt Friday. Like, it's a good idea. Like that one, I think that was funny. I legitimately think that was that was funny. But otherwise, yeah, I don't really like the episode. I don't really care that much for the episode. The whole thing with Tucker being tied to Hotep Ra didn't really go anywhere beyond just kind of being fluff. The stuff between Danny, Tucker, and Sam didn't exactly feel that great. It just kind of felt like it did half the moral job, it did half the job, and then just stopped and then just stopped. And okay, I will openly admit I did like seeing Tucker corrupted by the staff because I actually kind of like seeing all that negativity come rising up. But at the same time, the fact that the staff was able to do all this amazing stuff and then only seemed to corrupt Tucker once was that what Hotep Ra was doing? Like he can control the staff even before that? Then again, why did he need Tucker? Did he just need a figurehead? I'm sorry, but I keep thinking of problems. And it's just a big thing too. Like there are a few minor things I like, because again, seeing Tucker corrupted by the staff and seeing how it drastically alters his personality, I kind of like. I kind of like seeing. I do actually like the Egyptian setting and how it changes everything. But otherwise, yeah, I'm sorry, but this episode didn't really do anything for me. It was just, no, sorry, I didn't care for it. Last week's episode I at least found memorable because last week's episode was kind of stupid if you ask me, but I wouldn't exactly call it bad. It at least had some memorable things and a few nice areas that I kind of found interesting. But this episode just didn't do anything for me. This episode, King Tut just did not do anything for me. It was just kind of blah, just blah. And I'm sorry to the people who made this. I'm sure you did your best, but that's just how I feel. And I'm sorry. Hope you don't take this personally. I'm sorry. No. Yeah. I guess that's pretty much it. If you like this episode, more power to you. I'm not going to take that away from you. I personally didn't care that much for it. And I don't like to despise it either, but I'm sorry, I just didn't care for that much. I just did not care for it. I'm sorry. So, yeah. That's pretty much it. Thank you for watching. I'm Samuel Johnson, and I'll see you next week for an episode that I actually do find a lot more memorable than this one. So, yeah. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.